My mind holds only what I think with God. When I am healed, I am not healed alone. And heaven is the decision I must make. So again, this actually gets into the sense of unity and the fact that what is actually doing the healing is not your independent personal self. So this is really, lack of better words, an affirmation of the recognition of who you are. So when I am healed, I am not healed alone is not talking about Devin. Devin being healed, nobody else gets healed. No, sorry. Just Devin gets healed. You get healed from your sickness, your illness, your physical disorder or disease. Only you do. Nobody else does, right? Now, of course, some would debate about that, but it really doesn't make any difference. What I'm saying is the separated self gets healed separately, if it gets healed at all, right? A little cure thing that it does, or it stops having the symptoms for a while, whatever that is. What is healed is not healed alone, meaning that the totality of the dreamer, that Son of God experience, when it's healed, it's not healed alone as in a separate individual. In itself, yes, it is healed alone, as what God is, the Son of God is, healed alone, because that's the only thing that really exists, say the Son of God consciousness. But it's not a separate self that does. So I feel like I'm making this more complex than necessary. So everybody gets healed. So in this fashion, what we're talking about is like the dreamer of the dream. That's what the Son of God is, okay? The dreamer of the dream, discovering what that is. When it is healed, everyone in the dream is healed. So when it forgives or overcomes or evolves in its understanding, everyone is healed, overcomes or evolves within the dream. So as much as we see that our collective consciousness is evolving over time and that we are expanding in electronics and abilities and different obsessions, that is all what the dreamer is evolving. Everyone is naturally going with it. Everyone in existence, physical world here, is evolving along with the consciousness in which it evolves. So it's a reflection, right? So yes, when you are discovering the truth of who you are as the dreamer, everyone will start representing and showing that, and possibly even realizing it themselves. Okay? So a lot of people have difficulty with this, thinking that particular people have understood this more than others over time, and so that we like to see this separation thing. Well, someone like myself might know this information and see this reality, then no one else does, or you don't, and how come you don't and I do? And we get all this obsession about separation and get distorted and confused about it. So it's like, oh, now I don't know. Oh, he can't be enlightened because I'm not, right? He can't be healed because I'm not healed. And it's completely understandable. So of course we have, in this separated physical reality, you are the center of the universe. You are the center of your universe, okay? So I am not healed if you are not healed. I can only be healed at the degree in which you are. So yes, but for me, you are as healed as I want to be, and I allow myself to be, in the same right. So our experiences might be a little different than what we would say or concur about each other's experience. So it gets a little tricky because we just want to recognize that don't worry about like my center of the universe or everybody else's center of the universe. this comes back to your responsibility. It is always your lesson. You're the only one that needs to heal. You're the only one that needs to awaken, and we will all do it with you. We will all do it with you. If you don't do it, nobody does it. Nope. If you don't do it, nobody does it. And now there is this other aspect I've noticed, that I am completely average. That I do feel that everybody can somewhat relate to this, that there will always be I'd say the half of the majority of existence in all people better than me, and the other half worse than me, less than me. If I was to compare, Devin, I'm literally in the very center of awesomeness, okay? Very center of just, in any tactic, any skill, any ability, in size, in everything, just literally in the center. And now this is, I feel, same for everybody, because of what you believe yourself to be. There is all the representation of what that can become and what you can become. So there will always be literally half of the population with more money than you, and the other half of the population with less money than you. See how that, because everything that you choose yourself to be will show you every single option and variation. So literally, there would be poor, yes, there will always be poor people. So if you went down into that poor aspect, you're literally, half the population is even further into that poor aspect than you. So it's an interesting concept of a way of looking at it, because it's a reflection of your mind. So wherever you are, it is there also. So if you think of yourself as, say, financially wealthy, whatever it might be, just as the example of financials, whatever, then literally it will represent every variation and option of that. If you don't even think of finances at all, you're completely enlightened up past and beyond that, you won't even see, and nobody else will deal with finances either. So it's a pretty remarkable thing, because it's absolutely mind-blowing that you're changing the world as you are choosing to, say, obsess or be a part of or anything in the world. You're changing it. It's moving along with you. Now, people would say that we're kind of socially just following along, right? We're all changing and following along. That something else is moving it. And that something else would be that consciousness of Christ. Yes. It's not really who you are as a separate being. So in this, heaven is a decision I must make, is in the same way that I must make it. I am responsible for it. I'm responsible for the achievement, the reflection of the world. Say, anybody being in, say, heaven, and the experience of heaven, coming to heaven, just taking it in this way, is my decision. No one else's. No one else can do it. Now, of course, that means your decision. No one can make this decision for you. No one can judge you as worthy of it or not, but you. I like to say that nobody is my judge but Christ, who I am. Nobody is my judge but the judge of me, who is Christ. Right? So, something like that. Something beautiful like that I had in my mind. So in that sense of recognizing that, yes, we like to think that when we project it onto this idea of Jesus, disorienting the idea of Jesus into the sense of what Christ is, and kind of interchangeably recognizing the person Jesus and the consciousness of Christ are not the exact same thing, because just like Devin is not the consciousness of Christ, but the consciousness of Christ lives through Devin, the consciousness of Christ lives through you, and it has lived through Jesus as well. So that consciousness of Christ is the only judge, in which would, say, allow you to, through that last judgment, allow you to go through heaven or not. So you are judging yourself. That's what that means. So it's up to you if you are worthy or not. So then it tackles into getting into, say, how to get past, how to forgive, how to get through all these, say, sins or guilt and shame that you might have dealt with in your life, or whatever has occurred that you think you have sinned, and which is perfectly acceptable. When you have done something, you feel guilty about it, you have these problems, and yes, there are tactics, there are ways in which to get past them. So you can essentially, without getting into detail, you get rid of it, right? You let it go, okay? So it's either you let it go, or you use some other deity to let it go. Either way, you let it go, right? The letting it go is what happens. So I can pray to some deity, or I do some things, and I say some things, and I give it to the deity, and then they give it away. They throw it out the window. Or I can just learn how to recognize it and throw it out the window myself. So it makes no difference if you look up to a specific deity or person or being or whatever, or you're praying to God about forgiveness, your forgiveness. Letting it go is what still happens, regardless. So it's okay if you're praying to someone to forgive something and letting it go. That's perfectly acceptable, in the same right as doing it on your own is acceptable. Because regardless, you're letting it go. So it's always a reflection of your mind with this sense of the healing and the heaven and all those decisions. You are coming to recognize the totality of your reality. It's hard to see when you think of your world or you as somehow sinning and all these different problems and difficulties. So you're always trying to think of the words. What are these words? If you think it's a sinful, scary world, you're never going to be making the decision for heaven, because you think it's literally something that is problematic and sinful and something that actually exists. How could you make a decision to change something that is solid, right? You can't make a decision to change the structure of physicality, can you? Oh, no, you can't, but Christ can.